Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is an early day. It is 6:32, and we're still here. We're still here. We are still here. I am Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and your delegate for the 89th House District of the House of Delegates. Good morning. Good morning. What a blessing it is to be able to spend this time together as we sort of roll into the bottom half of our week. Or maybe it's not the bottom half because people work on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's a whole thing. But what we try to do every Tuesday and Thursday is just sort of like provide an update, like where are we, what are we doing, what's new, what's blue, good morning. What's happening in the legislature and how we can connect the dots back to what we're seeing happening right there in our city. Yes. We are in the Pocahontas building. Yeah, this looks, I try to make it feel like home, Conrad. He said, look at that office. Yes, try to make it feel like we're normal people here. But we are. Chioma just said we are in the Pocahontas building, and that Pocahontas building is right in downtown Richmond, Virginia. It is 6 stories, I think. I am on the second floor of this building, and I'm in a very, very small office, but not smaller than a fan room on the boat. So we got enough space here. But what is going to happen is across the street where the Capitol is, they're still working on a building that all of us, all of the legislators, all of the bodies, everybody's going to transition over there, and they think that'll happen next year. So if you haven't got a chance to get to Richmond and see and live inside of this Pocahontas building, you are always welcome. Always. Okay? As long as I'm here, right? This is your space and place. So anyway, let me give you guys an update of what's happening out of this office and some dots we're trying to connect. So I think every time we talk, I talk about the 5 bills that we have. 2 of them passed out of committee. Just a reminder, out of subcommittee. Subcommittee is where most bills start, where they start looking at them to see if they like them or not, if they want to move them through. So 2 of them have moved to committee. From subcommittee, remember we're walking up the ladder from subcommittee to committee, and hopefully the committees will be hearing them and they'll pass out of committee and then be on the floor with all of the delegates, right? With all of the delegates. And hold on, let me see. Mary Miller. Somebody's asking to be in. I'll approve. See who's joining us. Okay. Maybe they decided not to. You can, while we're talking here, I do want to make sure we share this time. If you want to come on and ask a question, you are more than welcome to request to be a part of the live and ask questions. So as I was saying, those 2 bills, one is about guardianship for incapacitated adults. The other one is updating, this is Conrad, absolutely. One is updating the code to broaden what it means for police to what they can do with assets that have been forfeited. So just make it plain, like, okay, when they get drug money, when they get guns, when they get those things, they're allowed to also use that for investment into the community, right? Not just that they can buy a bulletproof vest, and or they can invest in the community. So just broadening that definition of what we do with these assets, these things that we get from community. So those 2 are on the road. I had a sex trafficking bill about, how we treat minor victims of sex trafficking. That bill yesterday was supposed to be heard by a subcommittee. Remember the first level that it gets to. But I pulled it. I pulled that bill because it got put on the agenda to be heard the night before, and I decided that I didn't. I got some feedback from some organizations, and there were some updates that needed to happen to that bill to make it of standard. and we could have done it, but you guys, when it comes to things like that, I did not want to rush it. I did not want to put in a substandard bill, so I asked them to pull it, and we'll probably reintroduce that bill next year. Or if it comes back on the docket, we'll reintroduce it, but it probably won't, because we're almost at what we call crossover, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what crossover means. So, and then I have a bill that died, the one to stop replica documents, right, to stop the police from, just to say that we do not approve of police using fake documents to get convictions because they end up in case files. That one died. And then we have a housing authority bill, which talks about how housing authorities use their money in the localities that they are governed by or convened by. So those are our bills. So 2 are working their way up the ladder. 1 we pulled. 1 was dead in the water, got dead in the water, and the last one still has yet to be heard, and we'll update you on that. Which is great. We are having a lot of lobby days. So just to give you guys an idea, when I say you are more than welcome here, you are more than welcome here. We have lots of lobby days where people come and they come to advocate for their industry. And what I think the biggest thing that I'm learning as a legislator is that there is interest in everything. So yesterday we had the aerospace and aviation people coming in talking to us, which was really cool, just to hear how American Airlines contributes in Virginia. And they're the one carrier that has they have aircraft in every airport, right? The one carrier, and how there's a lot of there's a launch happening next week out of Wallops Island, Virginia, where they're going to be sending goods to the International Space Station. And if you guys are interested, you definitely should check out that launch. It's happening at 12 p.m. on, I think, next Saturday. And when I get more details, I'll share it. But just, there's so many different industries, from transportation to education to, to restaurants to, the wine and beer. Like, everyone has interest, and our whole lives, whether we like politics or not, our whole lives are legislated, right? Like, we put on a seatbelt because there's a law that says wear your seatbelt. So just understanding that whether you're a D, a R, or an I, or a G, what party or whatever people you affiliate yourself with, is that there are people making decisions that directly influence your life, how you consume things. I think the coolest bill that I heard yesterday was one about allowing third parties and selling alcohol. It's just a lot. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things happening, and it's important that we sort of make this connection. And I'll say again, while we're here, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to put in the chat. If you want to come and join us on live and ask a question, do not hesitate. Okay, so I talked a little bit about crossover. So what happens is, because Virginia is a part-time legislator, meaning we're only here part-time, the only time that we're here convened as a body is for, so I think, he said, I think Freitas had a bill. Yep, so Delegate Freitas, you say he think he had a bill to deregulate ABC. I don't know if that was the one I'm talking about, Conrad, but I'll definitely make sure I keep my ears peeled, and I'll talk about why it's important for you to tell me things like that. Okay, so we have long sessions and short sessions depending on whether it's a budget year. This year is a longer session, and we will be working here in the Capitol until March 12th, right? So I'll be here, and I'm typically here from Sunday to Friday, and I go home on Saturday and try to see my family and leave Sunday night and come back here, and I'm in Richmond for the week. Now that happens for up until March 12th, and then we go back to our homes and do what we do. Halfway through that time, from January to March, is called crossover. It's where our bills, remember earlier when I was talking about how my bills are in that latter process of coming to the floor and being voted on. Once they're voted on in the House of Delegates, right, which is almost like our House of Representatives, our state level House of Representatives, that bill then has to go over to the Senate, and the Senate has to work that same process with the bill, right? This is that checks and balances of government. So crossover means that all of the bills, and there are over 2,000, there are over 12,000 bills that we have on this side, right? Because there's 100 delegates and 40 senators for the state of Virginia. So on this side, we have over 12,000 bills that have to be heard. I think it's even over 13,000. But we have to hear these bills. They got to work that whole process, and then we have to be able to send them over. So if we don't hear them in time enough, then they have to wait till next year. So I know that next week, and I may, and I'll keep you guys abreast as to whether or not we're doing the lives, but next week is going to be really, 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 really long, because we're not moving slowly, but I know that we still have a lot on the docket to hear. We still have a lot of bills. Like I said, I have one bill that still hasn't been heard yet. We have a lot of bills to hear, and that has to be done to be sent over to the Senate. So I'm sure there are going to be some long days and long nights coming this next week. And then when we hit crossover, again, we'll send our bills over to the Senate. The Senate will send theirs over to ours. We'll work the process, and then guess what happens? They go to the governor, the executive branch, and that's where we hear about, oh, is the governor going to veto this? Is he going to veto that? That's how that happens. It's just like the things you learned in your government class, if you can remember that long ago, because some of y'all know we old. We ain't been in nobody's classroom learning the basics of bills and things, and quite a bit. Maybe we need to do a night where we all watch I'm Just a Bill, Schoolhouse Rock. Do some Schoolhouse Rock. I do want to bring everyone's attention to the advocating piece, right? Conrad, you just mentioned in the chat that, hey, you think Freitas has a bill to deregulate ABC. It is so important, because I said there are over 12,000 bills, that if there is one of interest to you, that you, or of concern, or you really like, that you send it our way, right? Adele J. Glass at house.virginia.gov. It's so important, because oftentimes what's happening is I'm only focusing on the bills that I'm a part of that committee for. Because remember, I said the bills got to go from a subcommittee to a committee, then to the floor, and then if they make it that far, they get to go over to the Senate and do that same process. I'm on two committees, right? The two committees that I'm on are privilege and elections. So I've been hearing a lot of bills about election law. So we just heard one about, they're stopping same-day voter registration, or getting rid of permanent absentee. So bills that deals with elections and privileges, I'm on that committee. And then I'm also on a committee that is called Communications, Technology, and Innovation. So in that committee, I've been hearing a lot of bills about improving cyber security and improving technology, government technology, some really actually pretty cool stuff that you don't realize is legislated. We don't realize that these things are there's laws. At least, I didn't really think about how these laws go. How about Conrad, if you know the bill number, the only bills that I've heard from Delegate Davis, so just answering Conrad's question, he said, how about Davis's, which is Delegate Davis of Virginia Beach, bill on the voting system and school boards. The only bill that I've heard from Delegate Davis on voting was he did a ranked choice voting bill, which his party laid on the table. The Republicans decided to lay it on the table, which means like, we don't want to vote on it. We're just going to sit it down for now. And I thought that was a good bill, to be quite honest. I'm an advocate for ranked choice voting. So I haven't heard anything on his bill on voting systems. What I did hear, his bill came to the floor yesterday, which is really important for our school system. Good morning, Billy. Is that he brought a bill forth to make the governor's school process race blind. And that's their way of saying that there should not be a criteria for equity and inclusion or diversity inside of our governor schools. And if you're not familiar with governor schools, these are like the hyper specialized high schools across the Commonwealth. In Norfolk, we have the Governor's School of Arts, where we have some amazing scholars that that come that are dancers, they're theater, the photographers, like there's a whole myriad of things, and sort of trying to make it just merit based. And what I say to that, and what I don't think sometimes folks understand when they bring forth things like this, let's make it race blind, or let's not have a criteria to, let's just have a meritocracy, is that meritocracies only tend to work when in professional sports. At least that's the best place that I think a meritocracy works, because, you know, in the middle of a football game, you can't raise the goalposts. In the middle of a basketball game, you can't take the 3-point line and move it back a little bit because you see some person's hitting a lot of threes. So it is really a lot of bills coming forth regarding how we teach history in our schools. So like, we have to pay attention. There's something for everybody here. And I'll try to do a good job at when I see or hear bills that I'm just like, y'all better pay attention and advocate to your people. I'll try to keep abreast, but even I'm sort of waiting on these lists of the most outrageous or egregious bills that we have. So that's why I need you guys, like what Conrad's doing. That's awesome. Even though I don't represent you, you know, we have common interests, and that this is a body, a governing body. I can go talk to other legislators and say, hey, you know, I really would love for you to support this bill. Here's why. So like, that is super important. So keep that coming. Yesterday, I'm a co-patron actually on a bill with Delegate Davis to Conrad's part. He's of Virginia Beach. A bill about providing restaurants the ability to still give out food when the Best By date is because we all know the Best By date doesn't mean that it's spoiled. It just means it's Best By that date, not the sell by or the use by, but the Best By date. That was brought to us through 2 high schoolers that go to Princess Anne High School, and I just want to shout them out. These young women are powerful. They came down here yesterday and they testified. Their bill made it out of subcommittee. This was the agriculture subcommittee unanimously. And to be quite honest, they pushed back to a bit on, which was a beautiful thing. So even if you see a problem, you can come and say, hey, Jackie, like, look, here's an issue with the law, like, or here's an issue I'm seeing. Is there any way you can help? Because it may be a way that we can write things differently or do things differently. They saw a problem where they were giving out food and they were running into restaurants that were just wasting food because the Best By date was gone, and that food could have been donated. And they brought a bill. And now if this bill makes it through the process, without liability, restaurants and folks will be able to donate food past the Best By date without liability. Solving real problems, right? Solving real problems. And that's what we want to be in the business of trying to solve some real problems for people. So I'm seeing if there's any. I know I'm running my mouth. If there are any questions. Nope, not yet. All right. So the last thing I think I have is about funding. So in a meeting when we first started here, the governor came down and he spoke to the entire General Assembly about sort of his plans and his missions and what he wanted to do. And what stuck out to me, outside of, you know, the curriculum issues that we have, and I've actually had a conversation with our Lieutenant Governor about how problematic the tip line is, and what that means for people and what is the consequences. And if you don't know what the tip line is that the governor announced that there's a tip line that parents can call for divisive curriculum. Without a clear definition, well, there is a clear definition of divisive, but it's all, and I'm not going to use the word interesting, it's all very targeted, and it appeals to certain sentiments, to be quite honest. But in his speech, he talked about how they're going to use American Rescue Plan money, $100 million of American Rescue Plan state level funding to give to police departments across the Commonwealth, as well as another $26 million to any department or any locality that increased their police funding. If you know how I feel, is that I do believe that there is work to be done with connecting police to the community. I believe in protect and serve, not necessarily law and order. If you protect and serve, I believe that the law and order comes. I've built a really amazing relationship with the police officers that are the community officers for my community, and I see the difference that it can make when we invest in values and not just in more guns and vests and things like that. And so when he said that, it sort of struck a chord with me in thinking about how there was a policy put out from the federal government, because remember, this American Rescue Plan money is coming from the federal government to states, and then states are then being able to give that money to localities, and the localities are making the decisions as to what happens with them. But there's a whole policy on federal use of funds to invest in non-police approaches to public safety. So I want to ask you guys to think about this. What if we were to invest some of our state dollars in non-police approaches to public safety? How would you want to do it? How would you want to invest? And just to give you some examples, because I think it's important to have that, some of the examples that the federal government gave us for public safety is mental health crisis service, better treatment for people with substance abuse disorders, alternatives to police and schools, shifting services currently provided by police to other agencies, affordable housing, investment investment into stable communities, right? This is what we know, is that how investments in housing and education add more value and more protecting and serving than any prison or police can, right? We know that that is what transforms neighborhoods. So I'm putting that out to you. You don't have to live in Virginia to really think about that, but I do want to hold our us accountable for what we do with your dollars, right? So you drop it in the comments and tell me, what if you were to invest in a non-police approach to public safety? What would you invest in? What would it be? I want to see them. So for now, and I'm like, and this is what I'm reading from. I went to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities and sort of read and was like trying to do my homework and figure out, like, you know, I could be upset and say, hey, why are you giving all that money? Or we can come with an approach to say, you know, this will actually help police work, because what we do know is that they're understaffed. That's a fact, especially in our locality in Norfolk. Like, people are leaving in droves, and they're overworked because they're understaffed. Like, these are things that are affecting us across the board. So, like, really be considerate, and let's see what you come up with. Andrea said, affordable housing money, please. We desperately need that. That's a fact. That's a whole fact. We desperately need it. And that's across the Commonwealth. So we got good work to do. You and I. Yes, we have some good work to do. And it's going to take, you know, sometimes you going, knock, 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 knock. Here's what I'm seeing. I don't have all the answers. But I do know that in this position, we do have access to a lot of people with some really great answers, and we also have access to resources, and we also have a megaphone. So we'll keep screaming those good things, like you said, Andrea, like we need more trauma-informed care. To your point, I just heard a bill yesterday. It was a sex trafficking bill about how we respond, and actually about how law enforcement are trained on sex trafficking. And part of the things they took out of that bill, which was really important, was trauma-informed training, the trauma-informed care training. They didn't want trauma-informed in there, and we know that makes a difference. right? That makes a huge difference. So yeah, definitely. And we'll keep advocating and trying to make new friends and friends that we have some values aligned. Amber, you said, how often do you make these videos? Thank you for doing this. So happy you did. Thank you, Amber. So I do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:30 a.m. I try to do it for a half an hour. I would love it if anytime you decide to join us, that if you have any questions, if you have any comments, that you feel free. Most of the time it's just me rambling, but I don't want to do that. This is your time. So I want to be as resourceful as I can and maybe learn some new things too. Because when I'm in Richmond, it's you get a little insulated, and I don't want to. My goal, as we sort of set up constituent services, and what I mean by constituent services, it's how we serve the people that voted and didn't vote for us but are in this district. How do we serve them when we're in this space and place? Like, that's super important to me, and I think that the team is working really hard to do a good job, and we're trying to launch at 80%. Right? When we get it, as my chief of staff says, when we get 80% a fix that's 80% workable, we need to launch, because we can't be thinking too much on things. We've got to get some things done, and then we fix, right? So thank you guys for being a part of that process. Keep it coming. Look at our last minute. I love the ideas. More public transit funding for people, to ensure people can safely and conveniently get to work, school, healthcare, food, etc. Exactly. And I will be really, really, really candid and say there is absolutely no way that I make my way to this space and place without public transportation. No way. No way. I rode a bus. I walked to a bus stop, to ride a train, to hop on a bus, to get to so many different opportunities. And that's not a joke. Like, literally walked to a bus stop, got on a train, to take another bus to get to opportunity. That when my mom was working her butt off at Ford and my dad was working his job for the state, there was nobody to take me there. And that was as a teenager. Teenager. That I was riding and walking and doing all those things. And there were streets I could ride my bike to, places and spaces. So, like, these things are important because they give us opportunity and access to opportunity. That's what I meant to say. So, yes. All right. It is 7:00. We have some good things to do today. Don't you have some good things to do? We got good things to do today. We do. So as we journey into this Thursday, I don't know what you got on your plate. I don't know why you decided to get up at 6:30 in the morning, but good morning. And what I'm hoping is that you're able to make it a great day, closer to opportunity, closer to service of yourself, because we deserve to live in the communities that are beyond our imagination and expectations. So here's to the work. I will see you guys next Tuesday at 6:30. I believe tomorrow I'll be doing my first floor speech. They'll probably post something. I'll know for sure this evening. But here to serve, right? I will see you guys on Tuesday. Till next time, Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer just like you, and your delegate for the 89th District. I will see you all on the flip side. Make it a great one.